Good morning, everyone. This is Dr. Ed Shoemaker, also known as Dr. Rad, the attachment code breaker. And thank you this morning for joining our live podcast. And we are at a very special place today. We're at the Forever Family Farm in Dade City, Florida, with the Perkins family. As you know, I work with many kids in the area, predominantly in Pasco, Hernando, Hope County, and all across Florida. And the reason I'm going to have the Perkins family, Brendel, the other is that they have adopted a whole bunch of kids in their life. And I'm going to ask Brendel if she would just introduce us to herself and her family, and tell her how her journey got started with helping out kids and adopting them, and how important um, the farm is in their life in 4-H. Brendel?
Okay, I'm Brendel Perkins. My husband is David Perkins. We started fostering about 15 years ago. We have three biological kids, and they were instrumental in our decision and our whole foster and adoption journey. Um, we initially only got into foster, but then we've had kids in our home, and their parents' rights were terminated in spite of all the hard work to try to mentor and help them reunify. Sometimes it just didn't work, and those kids were already part of our family. So adoption became our goal after reunification failed. So we have like Dr. Ed said, a lot of kids. Um, 11 are officially adopted from foster care, 3 biological, and then 2 other daughters that were never adopted, but nonetheless, they're our daughters. And um, we became involved in livestock and agriculture with our 3 biological kids when we started raising dairy goats and showing them. Um, and we seen how just building a relationship with the animals helped our kids to regulate their emotions. Um, And then we decided that we wanted to share that with other kids besides just our adopted and biological kids. Our kids became involved in 4-H. They show pullets. They do a pullet project every year where they have 6 pullets that are day-old chicks. They raise them until 6 or 7 months old, and then they show them at our Florida Ag and Wildlife Expo in Hernando County. And then they get to auction 3 of the best pullets off. And so the person who purchases them gets to take those 3 home and have their own fresh eggs. They also raise swine, so they auction the swine off as well. They show them, they're asked a bunch of showmanship questions where they have to know a lot of information about pigs and chickens and rabbits, just whatever animal they decide that they have interest in showing. So there's a lot of discipline and learning that building a relationship with the animal, taking care of the animal. Um, we've really found lots of benefit in the animal world and our kids.
Okay. Now, also, great information about your family as well. And the 4-H is so instrumental in your life, but you also homeschool the children.
Yes, and we do utilize a lot of that 4-H information, within our homeschool program. We're able to count some of their projects that they do as the science lesson, um, and it really helps a lot just with us building relationships with our children and having that attachment to be able to homeschool. So I'm thankful that 4-H has lots of resources that we can utilize in education. So some of our kids are involved in livestock judging. Um, and so that also helps them in showing and being able to pick out what animal is the best show prospect.
And if you would, Brendel, give us just a snapshot of a day in the life here on the farm with the kid, from waking up to the different, you got a lot of personalities here,
Yes.
how do you manage all that? Just give us what a day looks like in your life.
So usually in the mornings we'll start. Tony and I are usually up by 7:30. We're making baby goat and baby calf bottles. And of course, we need lots of coffee to fuel that energy. So we're making coffee, and Sean will usually make us some kind of breakfast, preferably egg muffins with lots of protein. Um, and then the other kids wake up, they get ready to go outside and do our farm chores. So everybody has their own assigned chores that they do. On a good day, everything runs like a well-oiled machine. So Sean makes feed and makes sure each animal gets exactly what they need. If he's not doing that, then he has a backup in Samantha, so she'll do that, or Isabella. Um, and so then they all go outside and start feeding the animals. We have chickens, rabbits, pigs, dairy goats, um, beef cattle, uh, and a dairy calf. I don't know what else we have. Did I cover it? Horses? We have horses that we utilize in a hippotherapy program where we partner with an occupational therapist group. Um, is that we have cats, donkeys, dogs, many horses. I think that about covers it. Um, and we also have ducks and geese. So,
And some dogs.
and dogs. Dogs, we can't forget the dogs. They make sure we don't forget them. So they feed some of the kids milk. We use that milk for feeding the baby goats and the baby calf. And we also, our family drinks the goat milk. Of course, we can't legally sell it to other humans, but unless we're doing animal consumption only. But those are some raw milk laws in Florida. But um, and then we come in after feeding. We make sure everyone, has ate. They start doing their schoolwork. We do schoolwork online. They also do things where they journal and read, and do some schoolwork that is not online. Um, and then, of course, we have some inside chores, and our kids rotate days that they cook. Some really have a big interest in cooking, and they like doing that. So we try to help them to be able to do a lot of things that they enjoy. And I think that's the beauty of homeschooling, as well as 4-H, that they have more than just agriculture, animal things, activities in 4-H. They have a tailgating project where you get to like do a grill and tailgate, make whatever kind of thing that you make on the grill. I don't think we've ever had a kid participate in that, but they also participate in public speaking. Um, what are some other things you guys participate in 4-H? County events is the public speaking thing, and we just had Samantha and Sophia do that. Samantha has advanced on to districts, so we're hoping that after districts, she will advance on to, what is it, state and then nationals. So we have big hopes for Samantha to do that this year.
Now, tell me, Brendel, how old are your kids? What's the age range right now?
So our youngest is Cody, and then he's 10. Then we have Isabella that's 12, Emily that's 13, Tony that's 14, Samantha that's 15, Sophia that is about to turn 16, Nyla that is 16, and Sean that is about to, in a few days, turn 17.
Okay. And we talked about how a good day goes. Now, I know we have a lot of listeners out there. We've got over 2,000 subscribers, and we just had some subscribers from the UK.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, that do some foster parenting as well as adoptive parents. And tell us on a bad day, what's a bad day look like? And
Gosh.
and how do you deal with those bad days? And just be brutally honest, because I'm sure we have a lot of other parents out there that have the same struggles and challenges on those bad days.
So safety is first and foremost, and so we have to keep everyone safe. Um, you never know what's going to trigger one of our kids. It could be somebody looking at them the wrong way, or that for whatever reason they don't feel safe in wherever they're at, and it's just a trigger back to where they came from. Maybe there's little things that you might not even realize that would set them off, and then she becomes verbally and physically aggressive. Um, Most of the time, we just try to isolate her and assure her that she's safe. Um, and when it becomes a safety issue for the other kids, obviously isolating her from them is the most important thing. Um,
Now, when you excuse me a second, when you say trigger, okay, several different things come to my mind, but with each of the children, what are you necessarily triggering? Because
it,
they all have past, we all grow up differently, but what is a trigger?
I realized this week that one of our daughters that has a particularly tough time this time of year was when she was removed from her biological family.
Yeah.
And so our body never forgets that. She might not be able to go, gosh, I feel a certain way, and why do I feel that way? Let me think about it. What went on in my life during this month or this day, this time of year? Um, so it may be something just, a trauma-versary, the anniversary of when their initial trauma started, or, um, one of our children this past weekend seen another little girl. We had a petting zoo at our county fair event, and this little girl came into the petting zoo. He was so excited to see her, and he was interacting with her, and then he asked her name, and her name happened to be Wren, which was a former foster daughter of ours, that tragically passed away. And he was very close to her. And so just hearing that name brought him back. And she was around the same age as our one foster daughter. So that was super triggering for Cody. Um, and I just had to say to him, it's not the same little girl. And I know this is hard. This makes you have memories, and it can make you angry or sad. And that's okay. We want to help them feel their emotions and walk through those emotions in a safe way.
Okay. And I know the $1,000,000 question is on those bad days, it's great to live in those great days when everything goes fine, but I'm sure you have a lot of viewers out there that say, "What in the world do you do, Brindell, when they have one of those bad days and it seems like it's never going in?" How do you cope with that as an adoptive parent?
Like I said, first safety, but then also for myself to be regulated. I make sure I'm doing self care. If that means on the way to taking my one teenager to work, I run through a coffee place and get myself a coffee, or um, see a beautiful sight on the side of the road and pull over and just really enjoy that sight and really pray and take in the beauty of God's creation. Whatever self-care looks like to you. Some of my kids walk around with headphones because music really helps them to regulate. And that's part of self-care. That's part of making sure that all of your emotions are in check, your body systems are in check, and you're well regulated.
I know when my wife and I first started working with traumatized children back in 1992,
Yeah.
we answered an ad for a boys' out,
Mhm.
and they wanted us all married. mindful people with just in that note, working this an atmosphere. And I think a lot of people out there feel as, oh my gosh, that's all I need to give children that have been traumatized with the Christian atmosphere. And they'll appreciate everything we do, and we can turn around those lives overnight. But after 33 years, it really takes a lot more than that. And sometimes you don't get the pats on the back for a long time, but then you do get that pat on the back.
Yeah.
And what's your experience with that, Rendell? Because I know you're a good, solid Christian family, and a lot of people, they don't get that appreciation. But yeah, I know my experience is, you know, it's very rewarding 10 years later, 5 years later, when you can see that all the work that you put into
Right.
woman have paid off.
I think initially, if you're getting into it for that self-rewarding feeling, it's it's gonna be hard. You're gonna struggle. For us, we got into it because we felt like it was really truly what God called us to do, to parent kids from hard places. Not just to parent the kids, but to really rally around and mentor the families as well. We have just this week, we have two of our daughters, their biological mom has reconnected with them, and she just came to their county fair, and she's coming tonight for their chicken show, and on tomorrow night for their pig show, and then on Saturday for the sale. I think she will be there. Um, so just knowing that you really have made a difference, not just in the kids' lives, but their parents' lives as well. Even if it ends in adoption, even if there's never um, a moment for them to reconnect, you just have to believe that even if it was a little moment, a little light of hope that you've given those parents, you just have to hope for that and just know that you're doing what you were called to do. It's not about it is nice to have a pat on the back, but it can't, just be all about that. It's about changing their lives. It's about helping them to walk through their trauma and hopefully get to the other side. Not that that means you'll never be triggered again or, I like my son Cody, I might see a little girl and go, gosh, she's about the same age as this, our one little girl, or oh gosh, I remember that foster placement. Um, and I will see, another kid, or I wonder how this kid is doing that has the same name. It's really about, just hoping that you make that tiny difference, no matter how big it is.
Absolutely. And at my time, of course, my wife is a school teacher now, and it reminds me of the time a few years ago when we were in a restaurant and she had a young man who was 15 come up to her and tell her that she was the best teacher that he ever had. And my wife couldn't remember his name. And he walked away and I asked my wife, I said, well, who was that? And she said, you know, that was a young man I had during detention.
Right. So she
you
wasn't
know,
even his primary teacher,
wasn't
right?
even the primary teacher, but the I think it's great for people to hear that are listening right now and watch it today to know that you can get compassion fatigue.
Yes.
Working with these, we're on the front line, working with these young men and women, but there is nothing more rewarding than it seems like that when it's needed the most, you get that pat on the shoulder to remind you why you're doing what you're doing,
Yeah.
why you're doing what you're doing. And I know some of the kids right now, they're all feeding their animals
Yes.
at the expo. But why don't you tell us a little bit about what you had going on this week, what you had going on last week
Okay.
with
Um,
the parents? Or
so they kick off our county Florida Ag and Wildlife Expo with the rodeo. So on Friday and Saturday we had a rodeo, and our family brought a petting zoo there for kids to interact with. And then throughout the week we've had to check in our animals. So they have to look their best. They have their little spa day of washing them, doing their nails, and getting them all spiffy before they're checked in. So then they check them in, and there was rabbits and chickens that have already been checked in, and then the judges judge them, and then the kids, on the show date, the kids show their animal and tell the judge about their animal, and the judge asks some pretty difficult questions. The goat show was on Saturday, so Samantha was the grand champion of the seniors, so that was pretty exciting. Um, and Sophia was reserve grand champion, correct? And Sean, you got third place. Emily was grand champion for her age group, which is intermediate. And Isabella was third overall for intermediates as well. So, and Cody, it was his first goat show. He was nervous, but he did very well, and he placed third in his age group. So the goat show was a success. And then last night was the rabbit show, and today will be the pullet show this evening. Which pullets are chickens, if anybody doesn't know, female chickens that lay eggs. So they also have other chickens that they'll be doing showmanship with. What? Yes. It's a year or younger are pullets that are females. So also today is the swine check-in. So they're washing their pigs, getting them ready to go to the cell. They'll get weighed and checked in, and then tomorrow is the showmanship for that. So they ask lots of questions about swine and pigs. Um, and then Saturday is the sell. So
okay,
they sell the pullets. So you get a cage of 3 egg laying age. If they're not laying eggs, they will soon be laying eggs, hens, and then steer and swine. So if you want a freezer full of beef, a freezer full of pork, the expo is where you wanna go and get that, and that's in Brooksville. Do you want me to tell you the address?
oh yeah, absolutely. Share that with everyone.
Okay. It's 8132 Croom Rydell Road in Brooksville, Florida. That's 34602.
Okay. And another thing we do here at the Forever Family Farms is Brindell, David, um, have opened up the farm too to do events throughout the year to bring the children together as a group. And I know in July we've got a
Yes.
250th anniversary for America event scheduled for the kids. And I'll tell you what, as a therapist, I've never seen anything more beneficial than actually the kids coming together as a group to be able to share their own stories with each other, because a
Yes.
lot of times they feel isolated.
Yes, I see that often. Um, just even at our expo, there are a few other foster and adoptive families there. And I was just speaking with 2 adoptive moms last night, and our kids were interacting. So, and of all the kids out there, our kids kind of are drawn to each other. And it's so neat to see they have that commonality. Not that what they've had to go through is cool or neat to see, because it's hard things that they've had to walk through, but they come alongside of each other and support each other. And it's really cool to see how they do that, how they just connect and love on each other. Um, and some of them maybe socially, they may be a little bit socially awkward or lack some social skills, but I know the events here at our farm, they just fit together, and, none of that matters anymore. It doesn't matter that you were adopted, or you may have some special needs. They just all get along. They come together. They play games. They interact with the animals, and it's really cool to see that.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, one last thing before we end today's broadcast, how can others get a hold of you?
I can be emailed at brendaleperkins@yahoo.com. It's Brendale Perkins, Perkins. I can be called. Do you want me to give my phone number? It's 352-806-9110. If you're interested in any kind of art, music, horse or hippotherapy here at the farm, we have occupational therapist, a music therapist, and an art therapist that also utilize our farm for those purposes.
And also somebody business. Oh, someone
Yes,
just bought this
absolutely.
story that, and we do have a Substack, Dr. Rad's attached food breaker that's specifically directed toward the adopted parents for them to
Yes.
get on and collaborate with each other. And that's Dr. Rad's attachment, adopted attitude lab.
Yes.
And I encourage you to sign up as a free subscriber. And also for anybody out there, if you're interested in getting all the benefits of our Substack, please let me know. Send me your email. I'll give you a free whole subscribe or benefits and so forth. In closing today, um, is there any one thing that you'd like to say just to encourage that person out there that maybe just a quit sin?
I think what I have to remind myself to often is when my kids are raging or screaming and saying unkind things, I can't take those things personally. I have to kind of get outside of myself and recognize where they're at, what must be going on in their minds, how they must be feeling, and not take it personally.
Okay, that's absolutely true. And to remember that it's the trauma speaking
Yes.
from the past. Well, I want to thank everyone that viewed today, and I hope to see you back on our next broadcast. And who knows when that will be?
All
Who
righty.
knows? Everybody have a great day. Don't be shy. If you have any questions that you would like to have answered, please send those to me or Brendel. She has her information out there, her contact information. And if you're ever in the area, please stop by and visit the
Yes.
Perkins family here at the Forever Family Farm in Dade City, Florida. It's been
Yes.
great to have you and have a beautiful, beautiful day.
Well, thanks for having me.